That's,
All right, to get through.
let me put myself on this so you can use it. There it is.
All right, to get through these proclamations. Lower the volume. Sorry, everyone, we're just getting through a couple technical difficulties. All right, and to get through these proclamations, we're going to pick up with the Irish American Heritage Month Proclamation, which will be followed by the National Girl Scout Day Proclamation. And I know we have a number of the Girl Scouts that are joining us this evening, and I want to thank all of you for being here. So to pick up with the Irish American Heritage Month Proclamation, it reads, whereas in October 1990, the 101st United States Congress passed Public Law 101-418, which established March 1991 as Irish American Heritage Month, and the President issued a proclamation commemorating the occasion each year. And whereas generations of Irish men and women have helped shape the idea of America overcoming hardship and strife through strength and sacrifice, faith and family. And whereas, as we celebrate Irish American Heritage Month, we recognize the Irish people's contributions to our country. And whereas the Irish are inextricably linked to the growth of the United States in fields ranging from literature, education, and science to politics, law enforcement, and military. And whereas we owe a debt of gratitude to the Irish American inventors and entrepreneurs who have helped define our country as the land of opportunity. And whereas we celebrate the sacrifices and contributions that generations of Irish Americans have made to build a better America, and we renew the bonds of friendship that will forever tie Ireland and the United States. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor James Belford Damiano, do hereby recognize March 2022 as Irish American Heritage Month in the Township of Little Falls. And like I said, we're going to round out this evening's proclamations with the last one being the National Girl Scout Day Proclamation. And I know we are joined right now by a number of our Girl Scouts in town, and all of you can feel free to turn on your cameras and give us all a wave. All right, I see all of you popping up. All right, girls. Well, thank you all for joining us. And we are going to read now the proclamation for the National Girl Scout Day Proclamation. And it reads, whereas the Little Falls Girl Scouts are being recognized for their service to the community as we celebrate National Girl Scouts Day. Whereas on March 12th, 1912, Juliet Gordon Lowe assembled 18 girls from Savannah, Georgia, and founded the Girl Scouts of the United States of America. Now, 108 years later, we can look back and see how Girl Scouts have helped generations of young women develop leadership potential, dedication to community service, and citizenship. And whereas we recognize the Little Falls Girl Scouts, including the Daisies, Brownies, Juniors, and Cadets, and the organization's mission of building girls of courage, confidence, and character, and who make the world a better place. Now, therefore, be it resolved that today we are here to honor a group of elite young women who have dedicated hundreds of hours to their community and will spend hundreds more. Be it further resolved that I, Mayor James Belford Damiano, do hereby recognize March 12th, 2022 as National Girl Scouts Day in the Township of Little Falls. Again, I want to thank all of you for joining us this evening. I know we have a handful of you on. We really appreciate everything that you do for us here in Little Falls, everything that you have built, everything that you have contributed to this community. You all serve a very important role in making Little Falls a better place to live. And I want to thank all of you for joining us here tonight.
Thank you, Council. To take on the role of being the councilperson assigned to Domestic Violence Prevention Committee. I reached out to you to discuss what the group could do to better serve the community. From that point forward, you've been supportive and an asset to this committee in terms of domestic violence. You've educated me a great deal on the topic, and for that I'm grateful. And so on behalf of the committee, members of which I'd like to invite up now, I would like to present you a small token of our appreciation. And it reads, present to Chief Steve Post, in appreciation of your dedication to the Little Falls Domestic Violence Prevention Committee, March 14th, 2029.
I don't believe I'm deserving of this compared to what the committee yourself have done for every day, every week, throughout the year, that brings awareness and resources to victims and family members of domestic violence. And it's hard to put a rate on what you have accomplished because you don't know if you may have reached and people you may have touched just by having your tables at your street fairs that are 102 degrees, or at the farmers markets. In any event that actually goes on, all your domestic violence committee members get together and they volunteer all the time. And I truly believe that we help many people survive in years of awareness shooting or out there in the public. No one's going to be there to say thank you many times, but only one day someone will come and say that your efforts did make a difference positively in somebody's life. But thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Ryan. I appreciate the information that Sherry is good at. He is 716. I have a motion to open the meeting for the public, general matters and agenda matters. It's moved by Councilmember Atlas, second by Councilmember Sherry. All those in favor of that motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, that motion signify by saying aye. This time, we shall read the public comment.
Anyone wishing to address the Township Council may do so through the Council President. Please give your name and address for the record. Comments are to be limited to 3 minutes. However, if appropriate, you may be granted additional time in the sole discretion of the Council President. Members of the public who have joined the meeting virtually and desire to provide comment shall raise their virtual hand in the Zoom application. The meeting moderator will cue the members of the public that wish to provide comment, and the Council President will recognize them in order. Members of the public who have joined the meeting by calling in must press *6 to mute and unmute themselves and *9 to raise their hand. Members of the public who have joined the meeting via the Zoom application must click the reactions icon and then the raise hand icon. Please give your name and address for the record. Once the process is complete, we will return to the regular order of business.
Tonight I'm going to bring a subject that I already did a couple of months ago, but due to the circumstances, times let me bring that back. A few months ago, I asked you, whoever comes to.
And give it up one second. There's some issues and it looks like some people were saying that there's no video.
Time's up.
I just got it right now, so that's fine. We're good? Good. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I apologize.
No, whoever comes to the podium, I don't mind identifying myself. Even my physical address, that might be an issue. We reading in the newspaper. You see it everywhere. It's just because somebody doesn't agree with your political affiliation, the way you look, the way you, whatever. They go, they know where you live, and you just want. And it's becoming an issue nationwide. I have no problem with identifying myself at the beginning of the meeting, going to usually the deputy clerk, who's there, showing them driver's license, whatever ID is necessary. But just the fact that I have to say it, and I don't know who's listening on the other, who's watching the video, who doesn't like me because I happen to be Hispanic, or because I think differently than other people do. That might be an issue. And I hope nothing happens to me because of that. It has happened in the past, and I even read a couple of articles just before I left the house of things like that, and all that issue. And it's becoming, I don't know if that is why people don't come up and express their ideas, because they may be offended or what. It might be worth giving a try. And like I said, I have no problem with showing any credentials that you feel like it, just to make sure, so that I can prove that I'm a little false resident. I hope you take that.
Thank you, Mr. Fernandez. The number one concern of the mayor, Damiano, and this council is that the residents stay safe. I will definitely have a conversation with Mr. Wenzel to see the legalities and have that discussion. Does the council members have anything they'd like to add to Mr. Fernandez's comments? Mayor, do you have anything you'd like to add?
The only comment I would like to add is simply that, I certainly hope you've never felt unsafe for anything you've ever said at the podium here. And yes, there will be conversations with our counselor who may be able to shed some additional light on whether or not that is required, the reasons that it's required in the future. If it is required by law, that may be something that we still need to require here in Little Falls. If it is not required, it may be something that we can relax here in Little Falls. And I think after some additional digging into that particular subject, we might have more clarity for you in the future.
Thank you for joining us this evening. Is there anyone else that would like to have the floor?
No one else on the Zoom.
Seeing no one else come forward, can I have a motion to close to the public? Moved by Councilmember Kawadi, second by Councilmember Seaver. All those in favor of closing to the public, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed to that motion signify by saying nay. That motion carries. At this time, Mayor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council President. The very first item this evening before the municipal budget presentation is the resolution authorizing the increase in the deferred school taxes. This one is relatively simple in the sense that because a municipality operates on a regular calendar year, meaning January 1 to December 31, and schools operate on a school calendar, meaning July 1 through June 30th, the taxes that are raised by a municipality essentially carry over from year to year on our calendar year versus their school year. And this resolution simply memorializes the fact that taxes will continue to be raised to support that particular budget. Any questions on that? All right, item number 2 this evening is the budget presentation for the 2022 municipal budget. And if you just bear with us for 1 second, we will share this on the screen so that everyone can see. Okay, share screen. Perfect. All right, I think everybody can see that now. And this is the 2022 municipal budget. It is proposed for introduction by the council, which I'm asking to be adopted in April. Tonight, the brief agenda and what to expect in the overview of the municipal budget. The annual municipal budget provides the spending authority for all township departments. This presentation provides an overview of the 2022 spending plan and estimates the funding required to support the plan. Only public information is presented in the budget. Confidential information has been specifically excluded from the presentation. I will run through the highlights, the revenue, the appropriations, the debts, and the tax rates for the town. All right, this is a comparison of the 2022 versus the 2021 budget here, and you'll see here in 2022, the fund balance utilized will be $1,970,000 versus 2021, $1,405,000. The anticipated revenue library tax, the anticipated revenue from the municipality will be $4,463,806 versus last year's $4,166,377. The library tax this year will be $594,272 versus last year's $566,172. There are receipts from delinquent taxes this year, up slightly from $480,000 this year, up from $415,000 last year. Yeah, that leaves the amount to be raised by taxes from all of the municipal taxpayers at $14,038,415 versus last year's $13,728,309. The total budget this year in Little Falls is $21,546,493 compared to last year's $20,281,258. The in-cap appropriations are $15,260,682 versus last year's $12,892,132. And the out-of-cap appropriations are $6,285,811 versus last year's $7,389,126. Some of the highlights also include anticipated surplus of almost $2 million. It will be $1,970,000 for the 2022 budget. And there is $1,548,515 remaining in surplus. The library taxes, as stated before, are $594,272 for 2022. And the appropriations have been set to reflect salary increases in the Teamsters bargaining unit contract of 2.75 for 2022. There are administrative salaries. They've been set to reflect a same increase of 2.75 across the board. And the public employee retirement system costs reflect a cost per employee of $10,177.73. And for those that aren't aware, the PERS, the Public Employee Retirement System, is the pension benefit to public employees. That does not include police and fire, who are in a separate pension system. There are no changes in administrative positions in 2022. The police collective bargaining increase have been set and incorporated into the 2022 budget. Also, the 2.75% increase in salaries. Police and fire pension costs reflect the cost per officer of $38,437.77. We will continue with the vehicle acquisition program in town, where we continue to purchase 2 new police vehicles each year, and we will continue to do that this year with 2 new police cars in 2022. This year, the shared service arrangement with the Borough of Elmwood Park to provide EMS services has been terminated effective January 1, 2022. The adjustments have been made to the Little Falls service of providing 10 full-time EMTs to cover Little Falls 911 calls exclusively. These salaries are offset by insurance funded revenue. And for those that are unaware, currently Little Falls has 1 ambulance on 24/7, 365, and they're looking to expand it to 5 days a week, a second ambulance in town on call for what we call the power shift between 9 a.m. and 7 p.m. when we find it to be the busiest, where not only will If the first ambulance is out, we'll have a second ambulance to assist with Little Falls residents. We'll also be able to support some of the surrounding towns, which generates revenue for the municipality, while we continue to have one ambulance here in town to assist with any Little Falls related calls. As far as other budget highlights, insurance costs are up $85,450 over last year. The PERS pension costs increased by $120,369. The PFRS costs are up $104,686 over last year. And in 2022, debt service costs are up $694,950 over the prior year. If we compare the assessed values, you'll see there's only a nominal increase in the assessed values in the municipality this year. In 2021, the assessed values were $1,535,481,900 compared to this year's 2022 assessed value of $1,542,914,400. And although I've heard numerous times there's so much development in town, there's so much construction in town, you'll note that in the past year, there has actually been very little development and construction that has come online to support the continued budget, which we're hoping to see in future years. And that is when taxpayers and residents of the municipality will really begin to realize the benefits and the financial benefits of the continued growth of the municipality. As far as revenues by source, there's only a number of areas where a township generates its funds. There is the fund balance, you see there in blue at 9%, revenues of 14%, and you'll notice 71% is generated by taxes and taxes that are collected from municipal taxpayers in town. That percentage makes up by far the largest percentage of the revenue that we need to generate in order to operate and fund the entire budget for the municipality here in Little Falls. You'll see here a breakdown of the appropriations by source. Our police, who are our biggest department here in town, working 24/7, 365, make up the largest portion of our budget, followed by debt service, followed by statutory and pension contributions, followed by our public works department, and insurance costs, rounding out the top 5 most expensive costs here in the municipality, followed by administration, fire and EMS, sewer costs. And again, these are some of the items that a municipality is required to pay that are not so glorious. And if just looking at the sewer costs alone, the municipality pays nearly $1.25 million a year in just sewer costs to run the sewers. Again, here in Little Falls, that's included in your annual municipal taxes. Unlike other towns or other counties who not only have a tax payment that is due, but also an additional sewer cost and sewer payment that is due, which goes to offset that cost, which makes up, frankly, 5% and more, 7% of our municipal budget here in Little Falls. So it is certainly a large chunk of the taxes that you pay, believe it or not. And if you look here at the municipal debt comparison, the limit that we have here in the municipality versus what we actually have leveraged. And as you move down the line to 2021, you'll see there that our limit remains well over $50 million, and the amount actually borrowed is somewhere around the $30 million mark. As I just stated, the allowable debt limit is $51,324,126, and the authorized debt as of December 31st, 2021 was $31,376,633. That leaves available for borrowing on nearly $20 million and $19,947,493 with a percentage of debt at 1.83%. You'll see here the municipal tax rates. This takes into consideration all portions of the budget, meaning the taxes that you pay related to the municipal taxes, the municipal open space, the library, the county, the regional high school, and our local K-8 district here in town. And in 2022, you'll note that the assessed valuation of the entire municipality is $1,542,914,400, with the average assessed valuation of the home at $310,000. So how much do you pay in taxes? I know that's the big question that we all have. And as you move down the line, and please note that 2022 does remain somewhat estimated and rounded because we're still waiting on some final numbers from the county and the schools in order to plug them into this year. But as far as the local portion, I can tell you that it is going from 0.894 in 2021 to 0.910 here in 2022. So what does that mean for you? That means that based upon the average assessed value of $310,000 here in Little Falls, the municipal portion last year was $2,799 versus this year will be $2,821. That is the amount of taxes that will be paid on the average home here in Little Falls, an increase of a mere $22 on the year. That's less than $2 per month increase on your taxes on the local portion of your municipal taxes here in Little Falls. And I want to just take this moment to, again, thank this council for all of the programs that they continue to bring forward, for all of the innovative ideas that not only provide an incredible event for the municipality, whether it be a 5K run, but also the revenue that it generates to offset those costs of those types of events, as well as offsetting the additional costs that we have here in Little Falls on everything in the budget. And I just use that as one example. But there are so many different events and activities that the municipality continues to run with the dedication of this council to really continue to provide incredible services and an incredible atmosphere here in town at a mere increase of $22 on the average home here in Little Falls this year. Here it is, the municipal tax rate. This is the breakdown of the municipal, school, county, open space, and library taxes. You will see here, again, as the chart continues along, that the municipal portion of this portion, it really only makes up about 50%. And the capital budget plan in 2022. Capital budget is a required part of the annual budget for all municipalities in the state of New Jersey. Under NJSA 40A:4-43, it provides that this budget is a plan for the expenditure of public funds for capital purposes. The authorization to make the expenditure still requires a capital ordinance adopted by the Township Council for each specific project. Capital budget addresses the needs of the township's infrastructure and equipment requirements, and if authorized by the council, will reflect an increase in current debt of $678,500. Here are some of the capital projects that are included in this year's annual budget. The 911 communication center upgrade. There is a police, fire, and EMS portion that all need to be upgraded in order to remain in compliance with state requirements, in order to ensure that our emergency responders are able to adequately respond to any emergencies here in town. And you'll notice here that this upgrade alone is an $850,000 improvement to the municipality. There is also the DPW capital project that we're looking to fund this year, and it's a new roll-off truck. This is something that unfortunately has become necessitated and become ever clear as a result of this year's prior flood. And I say that because in touring Jackson Park day after day down there, one of the biggest problems that we had in the area was that dumpsters were delivered by our garbage contractors, and for days and days and days, they were unable to get here to remove these dumpsters, to provide any services to Little Falls, to even get them just relocated to a different section in town. And this is part of what I believe this township needs to continue to do, is to be able to operate within itself and within its own confines, and be able to handle any emergencies that we may have internally without having to rely upon external forces to ensure that we're able to continue to provide services to our residents. And that is one of the larger expenses for the DPW this year, along with continued sanitary sewer improvements to the tune of $150,000, which we continue to make year after year after year. Fortunately, with the new development that's being developed throughout the town, every time that a new connection is made and that a new development comes online, there are substantial fees that are paid by the developer in sewer fees, and we use those sewer fees to reduce our inflow and infiltration, one of the biggest issues that we have here in town. For example, the development that is in the area where 381 used to be on Main Street, the Sing Equity Development Plan. That developer paid in excess of $950,000 to the municipality in just sewer fees alone, or will be over time once the sewer connections are made. And those are all monies that we can utilize to continue to reduce the I&I throughout town that continues to cause an influx of flow of water, of sewage during major rainstorms. Other capital projects include a road resurfacing program here in Little Falls, which has been allocated with $500,000. This has been something that we've been doing every single year. Unfortunately, there was a long period of time prior to myself becoming mayor and this administration where road resurfacing was put on hold for an extended period of time. Unfortunately, we are still stuck holding the bag, playing some catch up for some of the roads that were not resurfaced within what would have likely been a reasonable lifespan. So we are continuing to reallocate funding for the road resurfacing program. Additionally, we have improvements to municipal facilities to the tune of $100,000 to ensure that all of our buildings and municipal facilities continue to have any improvements necessary to keep them operational. We also have DOT streetscape projects to the tune of $1,175,000. And I want to make sure that nobody is shell-shocked by that figure because a very, very large, if not all portion of that figure will be reimbursed as a result of grants from the DOT. Additional capital improvements. Right now, there's $250,000 allocated to improvements to Wilmore Park. We're hoping that that number will actually double with the previous $200,000 grant, almost double, with the prior $200,000 grant that we received from the County Open Space Trust Fund, which will allow us to make nearly $500,000 worth of improvements to Wilmore Park without it costing the taxpayers a single dollar. There are also additional capital requests totaling $3,275,000, and again, funded by grants would be $733,000. Down payments would result in $127,500, and debt authorized would be $2,414,500. The debt service in 2022 is $1,736,000. The 2022 debt authorizations are $2,414,500, with a net increase in debt of $678,500. The budget hearing adoption will be held on April 11th, 2022 at 7 p.m., at which time comments and questions from the public will be heard. Once the budget is advertised, you can send any questions or comments, and be sure to include your name and address in your email, at least for now, until we can figure out if addresses no longer need to be included. Oh, and the email address where you should send any requests that are in writing are to the Township Clerk, Cynthia Kraus. It's ckraus@lfnj.com. Hoarse after my budget presentation, and that's the 2022 municipal budget. Item number 2. Are there any questions from the council at this time? All right, moving through the remainder of the items here. Some of these are not particularly new, but the fee ordinance amendment for the Recreation Department, I'm sorry, I skipped ordinance 1430. Don't fear, Mr. Fernandez, I wasn't skipping it on purpose. This is the parking modifications on Harrison Street. And the parking modifications on Harrison Street, as we've discussed in the past, Harrison Street was one of the few streets in Little Falls that didn't necessarily comport to townships with and parking on one, both, or no sides of the road requirements. We're simply updating the ordinance with respect to Harrison Street to ensure that parking on either one, both, or neither side is appropriate, depending on the width of the roadway there. Ordinance 1431, the fee ordinance amendment for the Recreation Department, that's previously been discussed. There's also the ordinance 1432 to exceed the municipal budget cost of living allowance, which is done annually at the time of the budget introduction. The next item is the execution of the lease agreement for property located at 35 Stevens Ave. And at this time, I'm going to ask Councilor Wenzel to provide some comments on 35 Stevens Ave and the lease agreement there based upon the prior council meeting and the presentation that was provided at that time.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, Council President. Council will remember that there was a presentation last council meeting by the Little Falls Historic Society about the potential use they're seeking of 35 Stevens Avenue. Since that time, my office has been in contact with representatives of the society with regard to developing a lease between the township and the society. Society is a nonprofit organization, so there are different methods for approving a lease with a nonprofit organization such as society. That process, the start of that process is tonight. That is why we're doing the ordinance that's required under the statute. The ordinance is up for a first reading tonight, and then there will be a second reading. The lease is in the, I would classify as the final stages of negotiation between my office and the representatives of the society. Once that lease is in final format, I will present it to you, Council President, and to the Mayor to then share with the public prior to the date of the second reading, so that the public itself can be able to view the lease before that hearing, be able to comment intelligently as to what that lease actually shows. And that is, so the first step tonight, Council President, is the introduction of the ordinance. And as I said, we are probably going to be finalizing that lease in the next few days. So if there's any questions, Council President, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Are there any questions from the council? Mayor?
All right, items number 7 and 8, Council President, are ordinance number 1434 and 1435. I'm also going to turn this one over to Councilor Wenzel after a very brief synopsis of what we have happening here. Part of what we're looking to do here in Little Falls is bring us into the 21st century. And that includes with our tax maps. And the tax maps that we have here in Little Falls are, to call them old is an understatement. When you turn the pages, you're fearful that it will rip each and every time. And as part of bringing us into the 21st century, they now have, believe it or not, digital tax maps. So what we're looking to do is take all of the appropriate steps in order to accomplish being able to get us to these digital tax maps that will make the 200-foot notices for future planning board meetings much easier. It's so many other great features that come with overlaying this map with the township sewers and the township's water systems, all of the other fire hydrants, and all the things like that here in town. But we had a couple of issues, I shouldn't call them issues, a couple of properties in township, and that is what these two ordinances are going to address. I'll turn it over to Councilor Wenzel for a more in-depth explanation.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you, Council President. So you have two ordinances tonight, both of first reading, with regard to two lots which lie in Cisco Lane, and two lots which has a local colloquial designation as Canfield Lane. That's not actually a road, it's more of a path that exists from, I believe, Brook Hill Road to Third. So through Mr. Lamanowitz's office as the township engineer, we discovered that there were these 4 lots, two at Cisco and 2 at Canfield, which are basically orphans. We had a title search done. Title search revealed there was no ownership record of any type. They don't exist. I mean, they exist on a tax map, clearly, but they do not exist in any type of file deed or other type of recordable instrument. We then also took a look at the neighboring properties to ensure that their meets and bounds of the neighboring properties did not overlap with these lots, so as those people would believe or have a reasonable inference that they own those lots. And by the way, if they did, they'd have to pay taxes. So I'm not sure they would really want to know that. But for the benefit of those people, also for the benefit of the township, none of those lots, the lots surrounding both Canfield and the lots surrounding Cisco, none of them identify that their lots or their meets and bounds go into that lot and block. So what does that mean? That means at the end of the day that these lots from time immemorial have always been treated as if they are township property. Cisco is actually a road with sidewalk, not sidewalk, but it's roadway and streetscape therewith. Canfield is a path that I believe has been built and maintained by the Department of Public Works for who knows how long. Certainly probably from the first days of Phil Simone working for the township. And there's a lovely brook with a bridge. How it got there is unknown, but it exists. And so for all those reasons, it's abundantly clear to me legally that no one has claimed ownership of these properties. The township has basically maintained these properties, has taken care of these properties, has considered these properties their property, and they're not, and nothing indicates that they are actually assessed as taxed lots, which is the other part to this. That's the mayor's point about the tax lots. They're not indicated as tax lots. So for all those reasons, that's why we're introducing the ordinance to basically declare these properties, in essence, to be what they actually are, which is township property. And that we would then, the second piece after you have the first reading and the second reading, we would then file a type of deed called a quitclaim deed, indicating that the township is declaring ownership of those properties. There's also a notice that goes to neighboring property owners. But once again, none of those by our research shows that they had any particular ownership right. And secondly, even if they did declare an ownership right, well, the flip side of that is they would have their land taxes increased. So I'm not sure that anybody would necessarily want to say that it's their property. So that would be how we would resolve these sort of orphan lots. So if there's any questions, Council President, I'm happy to answer them. And I also apologize to Councilwoman Sieber because I keep putting my back to her, and I'm not. It's been so long since I've been on the dais, I can't remember to go back and forth like that. So I apologize, Councilwoman.
Are there any questions from the dais, from the council members regarding that explanation of 1434, 1435? Councilor, as we proceed through this, if these residents do want to acquire the land, would that be a possibility?
It could be, but they would have to, first of all, they would have to express how they have that right. And secondly, because they would have to show what I know no one can show, which is an ownership history. That would be the first problem. Like I said, secondly, ultimately, I think the conversation would stop when you would tell them that their land taxes would be increased. Most of these people whose deeds are on these properties have been living there for many decades, and they've never expressed a right to those properties.
Thank you for your explanation. Are there any questions? Seeing no, we'll proceed. Before we do proceed, I usually always say this, for those in our audience that do want to leave and don't want to stay throughout the entire meeting, we don't feel insulted. You know, we don't take down your license plate numbers or anything. So you're welcome to leave. No, not the Councilman Sieber, Council Member Sieber. Yeah. But if you're welcome to stay throughout the meeting and hear the township business, but I do want to let you know if you feel like you want to leave, there's no hard feelings. So we'll move on. Can I have a motion to approve resolutions A through C?
So
Moved by Councilmember Kawadi, second by Councilmember Vanchery. This is a roll call. This is for resolutions A through C. Mr. Kusia, please call the roll.
Councilmember Havlet.
Yes.
Councilmember Kawadi.
yes,
Councilmember Seaver.
Yes.
Councilmember Vanchery.
Yes.
Council President Scoba.
Yes. Mr. Kusia, please read ordinance 1430.
Second reading and public hearing of ordinance number 1430, an ordinance entitled Ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Little Falls in the County of Passaic, State of New Jersey, amending the Township Code, Chapter 7, entitled Traffic.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to open to the public hearing on 1430? Moved by Councilmember Vanchery. Can I have a second? Second by Councilmember Kawadi. All those in favor of opening to the public for 1430, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Can I have a motion to close to the public hearing on 1430? Moved by Councilmember Seaver, second by Councilmember Hablitz. All those in favor of closing to 1430, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. The motion carries. Can I have a motion to adopt 1430? Moved by Councilmember Vanchery, second by Councilmember Quattie. This is a roll call to adopt 1430. Mr. Kusia?
Councilmember Hablitz. Councilmember Quattie.
Yes.
Councilmember Seaver. Councilmember Vanchery.
Yes.
Council President Scoba.
Yes, Mr. Kusia, at this time, please read ordinance 1431.
Second reading and public hearing of ordinance number 1431, an ordinance entitled Ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Little Falls in the County of Passaic, State of New Jersey, amending the Township Code, Chapter 71, fees.
Can I have a motion to open to the public hearing on 1431? Moved by Councilmember Hablitz, second by Councilmember Seaver. All those in favor of opening to the public on 1431, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed to that motion signify by saying nay. The motion carries. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing on 1431? Moved by Councilmember Vanchery, second by Councilmember Quattie. All those in favor of closing on 1431, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. The motion carries. Can I have a motion to adopt 1431? Moved by Councilmember Vanchery, second by Councilmember Seaver. Mr. Kusia, please call the roll for 1431 to adopt.
Councilmember Hablitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Quattie.
Yes.
Councilmember Seaver.
Yes.
Councilmember Vanchery.
Yes.
Council President Scoba.
Yes, at this time, Mr. Kusia, please read ordinance 1432.
Introduction of ordinance number 1432, an ordinance entitled Calendar Year 2022 Ordinance to exceed the municipal budget cost of living allowance to establish a cap bank, with second reading and public hearing scheduled for April 11, 2022.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to introduce 1432?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Quattie, second by Councilmember Seaver. All those in favor of introducing 1432? Oh, this is a roll call. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Hablitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Quattie.
Yes.
Councilmember Seaver.
Yes.
Councilmember Vanchery.
Yes.
Council President Scoba.
Yes. Mr. Kusia, please read ordinance 1433.
Introduction of ordinance number 1433, an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Little Falls in the County of Passaic and the State of New Jersey, authorizing execution of a lease agreement between the township and the Little Falls Township Historical Society Incorporated for the property located at 35 Stevens Avenue, with second reading and public hearing scheduled for April 11, 2022.
Counselor, I'd like to change that second reading to our next meeting. Is that possible?
Certainly, Council President, as long as you're announcing it tonight. Yeah.
All right, so we're announcing it tonight. Does the council?
I'm sorry, Council President, excuse me, but Mr. Cucci also just said it, what I was going to say, which is you have to do the proper advertisement. Thank you, Mr. Cucci.
Right, which is all possible.
Yeah, because it's been 2 weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
So
So it'll be
can I have that date, please? March,
28.
correct? That's our next meeting. Oh,
Yes.
does the council have any issues with the second reading on March 28th? Mayor, do you have any issues with March 28th and taking this matter up? Very good. So we're going to change the public hearing schedule for March 28, 2022. Can I have so where are we with this? Is it a roll call?
Motion approved.
A motion to approve, right? But where did I leave
The
off?
introduction.
For the introduction, we need a roll call for introduction, correct?
Correct.
Okay, you're right. So can I have a motion to introduce?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Vanchery, second by Councilmember Seaver. This is a roll call to introduce, correct?
Yes.
1433.
Yes.
Call the roll, Mr. Kusia.
Councilmember Hablitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Kawadi.
Yes.
Councilmember Seaver. Councilmember Vanchery.
Yes.
Council President Scoba.
Yes, at this time, please read ordinance 1434.
Introduction of ordinance number 1434, an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Little Falls in the County of Passaic, State of New Jersey, confirming the township's ownership of Cisco Lane, with the second reading and public hearing scheduled for April 11, 2022.
Can I have a motion to introduce 1434? Moved by Councilmember Hablitz, second by Councilmember Vanchery. This is a roll call. Mr. Kusia, please call the roll on 1434.
Councilmember Hablitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Kawadi.
Yes.
Councilmember Seaver.
Yes.
Councilmember Vanchery.
Yes.
Council President Scoba.
Yes. We're now at, to read ordinance 1435.
Introduction of ordinance number 1435, an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Little Falls in the County of Passaic, State of New Jersey, confirming the township's ownership of Canfield Lane, with the second reading and public hearing scheduled for April 11, 2022.
Have a motion to introduce 1435,
So moved.
moved by Councilmember Quattie, second by Councilmember Seaver. All those, I'm sorry, this is a roll call. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Havelitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Kwadi.
Yes.
Councilmember Seaver.
Yes.
Councilmember Vanchery.
Yes.
Council President Scoba.
Yes. Councilmember Vanchery, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Council President. I apologize for joining at 7:16, although for the record, I was in the building. I had an emergency at work and I was on a call at 6:45. That happens once in a while. Just a couple things I just want to remind everyone about. The flyers have been circulated through the email blast, but I'm also looking to kind of put them around town. On Friday, April 1st at 6 p.m. to kick off Autism Awareness Month for the month of April. We are going to do the flag raising right outside over here. So just wanted to invite everyone. I did reach out to the schools to let them know, to invite some of the families that are impacted by autism. And we're just hoping to have a good crowd. This is something we've done the last few years. So just as a reminder, on Friday, April 1st at 6 p.m. for the Autism Awareness Month flag raising. Just some updates about the Memorial Day weekend activities. So on Friday, May 27th, as I mentioned previously, we are going to have a Friday night concert in the park from 6 to 9 p.m. Last week, myself, Mr. John Pace, and Mr. Tyler Casero met with some of the participants of this event, two bands that we're going to have playing, just going over some details. And we're just working on behind the scenes, having some other activities take place during that night, including some food trucks, some vendors, ice cream, and probably some other things to entertain people while they're listening to music or just hanging out. So look for more to come on that. And then the next day, of course, on Saturday, May 28th, is the annual Memorial Day Parade taking place at 10 a.m. The response has been wonderful so far. Everyone is looking forward to getting back out there. It's been a couple of years since we've actually had our parade, and I'm looking to spend some time this week with our deputy chief to go over some details around that parade to make sure that we're all safe and secure for the parade on the 28th at 10. And just a reminder too that once the parade does end, typically around 11:30 a.m., the ceremony will take place at Wilmore Road Park by the American Legion Post 108 to honor, of course, those who gave the ultimate sacrifice. So I just wanted to mention that. And then just lastly, with 1430 being passed, I know Mr. Fernandez is very happy, but it's a perfect example too of, when you have an opportunity to come to a meeting or reach out to any one of us on the dais here, the mayor, send an email with some questions or concerns. We're happy to oblige. Mr. Fernandez came here in a meeting last year and let us know the situation. 2 days later, myself, Chief Post, Mr. Ronnie Campbell from DPW, we were out there addressing the situation, looked at it, and then brought back the recommendation to Council President Scoba, Mr. Wenzel, and of course, Mayor Damiano. So this is just a perfect example of acknowledging the concern that you did have. And Mayor, the one thing I will say is now that this is approved, we'll work with Mr. Campbell, of course, to get the signage properly placed, hopefully this week as well. So that's it for me.
Councilmember Havelitz, the floor is yours.
First, I'd like to thank the mayor and our fellow council members for all of the great proclamations that we have monthly. I think the recognition is great, especially the recognition today for the Women's History Month. I'm so proud of all the women that came before me that made it possible to be a working mom and a councilwoman and share this day with school councilwoman Seaver. So thank you very much, everyone. Just a few library updates. The library will be hosting a virtual workshop on March 22nd at 7 p.m. That also has an interactive support group called Facilitated Resiliency Group, and it's discuss stressors that have been going on in the world and stressors that you may want to discuss with the group to help support you. Also, they're having their monthly book club, resuming in person in April. The discussions of the book club will be on April 5th and April 6th at 11 p.m. And lastly, the library is now hosting a new program called Who's Got Game. It will be on the second and fourth Wednesdays where you can go to the library and participate in a game of Scrabble, chess, checkers, cards, or mahjong. And lastly, they are doing their spring book drive. Right now, they are taking donations through March 28th. They are accepting all genres of books. And the sales will be on April 1st from 10 to 5 and April 2nd from 10 to 3 p.m. I'd also like to take the time to congratulate our Little Falls PBA. Our officers participated this year in their first snowball, which is a football game that they played at MetLife Stadium to benefit the Special Olympics. The officers were able to raise over $3,000 and placed in the semifinals. So congratulations to them. That's all.
Councilmember Seaver, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Just a few quick updates. Coming up in April 16th, the Little Falls Recreation Center is going to be having breakfast with the bunny. So anybody, any families that are interested can reach out to our recreation department. It is a very popular program. And then right around the corner, May 22nd is the opening day of our farmers market. We are actively taking vendor applications at this time. Further information again can be found on lfnj.com or by calling the Recreation Center. It's great to see so many of our vendors continuing to return for our third year. That is all I have for tonight.
Councilmember Quadri.
Thank you, Council President. Once again, I want to thank Chief Post and the members of the Domestic Violence Prevention Committee for being here. Please look for the members at the events that you've heard about tonight. We go to 10, and we can try to attend as many events as we can. And so please encourage them and support them as you can. Secondly, at the last meeting, I mentioned some events that were coming up for the Cub Scouts and the Boy Scouts. Both events were a big success, supported by the mayor and council, and so I want to thank them for attending those events, as well as the members of the police department who were at both the Pinewood Derby and the Pasta Dinner and the PBA as a whole for their support for the Boy Scouts. They've done a lot for our community. It was really great to see everyone down support them the last 2 weeks. So thank you. That's it for you.
Thank you. Before I give you a little report on the senior advisory, the mayor doesn't get to that budget document without a barrage, and I mean a barrage of comments and questions from the council members that you see up here. That document takes a long time and a lot of effort by himself and staff with the input from council. It's probably one of the most important items that the mayor has to contend with. So Mayor, thank you for doing a fine job on that budget and dealing with the council members throughout that process. On Wednesday, the 16th, the senior advisory is going to have an Irish luncheon, dance, corned beef, I think even cabbage afternoon with an Irish singer, Luke O'Malley, showing up. As I was coming into the council chambers, I got a text. We have over 80 seniors showing up to that event, which I think is wonderful because I think since COVID, that's going to be the most attendees attending an event. I look forward to seeing the council members showing up and kind of giving me a helping hand, along with hopefully the mayor can fit it in the schedule. So we're going to have a really, really fun time on this Wednesday. Deputy Chief Paul, would you like to come up and tell us the goings and rounds of your department?
One brief comment. Actually, I have the pleasure of thank you, Chief Post, over here tonight. So just something that Chief Post started that we're continuing is our accreditation program. And on March 10th, Lieutenant Jason Presley, who's our accreditation manager, and myself, we went before the New Jersey State Association of Chiefs of Police, and they had a 12-panel accreditation group, and they reviewed our report, they evaluated our on-site inspection, and I'm happy to report that we're re-accredited as a law enforcement agency. So I have Chief Post to thank for that. Just you have my assurance that this is something that we're going to continue going forward.
Congratulations. Thank you. Can I have a motion to open the meeting to the public for agenda items? Moved by Councilmember Vanchery, second by Councilmember Hablitz. All those in favor of opening the meeting to agenda items signify by saying aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Mr. Kusia, please.
No one on Zoom, sir.
We're not on Zoom?
No, I'm saying no one is asking. Anyone wishing to address the Township Council may do so through the Council President. Please give your name and address for the record. Comments are to be limited to 3 minutes. However, if appropriate, you may be granted additional time in the sole discretion of the Council President. Members of the public who have joined the meeting virtually and desire to provide comment shall raise their virtual hand in the Zoom application. The meeting moderator will cue the members of the public that wish to provide comment, and the council president will recognize them in order. Members of the public who have joined the meeting by calling in must press *6 to mute and unmute themselves and *9 to raise their hand. Members of the public who have joined the meeting via the Zoom application must click the reactions icon and then the raise hand icon. Please give your name and address for the record, and once the process is complete, we'll return to the regular order of business. There is no one on Zoom that wishes to be heard.
Okay, thank you. Is anyone, the floor is open.
Regarding ordinance 1430, I appeal, and in fact, I even made a few signs that I posted.
Thank you. Saw those. Thank you.
And people are nice stuff, you know, it's nice to be recognized. People, when they walk the door, they ask me, what is this all about? And I let them know. It was because of the job that done. They did, and hopefully we will not have any more trailers running around the house. And that's how we start a conversation. Is if they know that I'm repeating maybe. They're concerned. Most of the people, 3 or 4 people that we asked me, was the terrific amount of construction that is happening throughout town. The amount of permits that are being issued towards townhomes. And I happen to live in an area, mostly other people, just a few months. And they tell me how they remember the old neighborhood when we're not much farms, the house were roaming all over the place. And she said, now there's nothing, there's no green space or anything like that. I told them to come to the council or the planning board, but mostly, you know, that most government people, they're not oriented. And, or they are afraid of talk. For some reason, they never voice their opinion. They voice it to me because they know the business. So, but anyway, that's a big concern on some of the residents who have to speak. The amount of green space that is being taken away, and the amount of condominiums, well, that are being built all over the place. And I told them that I will let them use this code.
Well, thank you for bringing the concerns of the residents of your neighborhood and to this governing body. As far as, and you can bring this back to the residents, and they're always welcome to join us here or reach out to the mayor, as Councilmember Vanchery said, or to reach out to any one of us, or even to staff. As far as green space goes, a lot of the building that's going on was never green space to begin with. It was industrial space and some business space. So it wasn't green pasture, lawns, or forests that the building is going on. If as you go down Main Street, as you know, that was Rainbow Caterers, and there was not an ounce of, when we say green space, I guess we're meaning lawns and trees. As you go down Patterson Avenue, as well as where there's no more homes, that was all homes, and that too was not green space. That was just homes. So the building going on is kind of just rejuvenating the existing areas that already had structures on. Would any of the dais like to comment? Mayor, would you, got Councilmember Quadri?
Take it one step further, Council President. The area you're talking about was 100% impervious ground, and it will have less impervious ground now. So it will indeed be greener than it was prior to this development on the lake.
You want Mr. Quadri, Councilman Quadri, explain the impervious ground.
Impervious ground, meaning water does not seep into it, right? It becomes 100% runoff. So with the new townhome development that's going in, there will be patches of grass, there will be retention tanks, things like that, that will absorb water and make that area more environmentally friendly than what was there prior.
Mr. Fernandez, Mayor, would you like to comment?
Similarly, the 381 is the project, Scenic Redevelopment Zone, as well as the Route 23 project, as well as the Valley site. All of those will have less impervious coverage as a result of the redevelopment than they currently had. So bringing back green space, being cognizant of runoff, being cognizant of the flooding and water issues that we face here in Little Falls is something that we continue to do, even with these redevelopment sites. The other thing that you need to understand is that even with additional green space and on the SINGAC redevelopment site, the developer was required to install, I don't know the exact number of gallons, but tens of thousands of gallons worth of water storage, even though there is less impervious, even though there's less impervious coverage, they're still required in addition to that to store a ton of the runoff from the roofs and through leader pipes into water retention basins. So the amount of runoff that will result from that site, as well as all of these other sites, will actually be far less than there was when it was in its cow pasture state, as some residents recall. I can tell you, living in Little Falls my whole life, while I love hearing stories of the street I lived on used to be a racetrack, I certainly don't recall it. While I love hearing stories of the cow pastures in the Jackson Park area, again, I certainly don't recall it myself. And I know a lot of people have pointed fingers at me saying, you're changing the face of the town. I will tell you, any recollection that I have of Little Falls, which is 35 years worth now, I believe the only thing that this administration has done is give a facelift to the areas that are being redeveloped, because it's just that, it's redevelopment of sites that are already developed. So we're not tearing down green space to add condos, to add apartments, to add anything like that. So, again, I take issue, not necessarily with what you said, but with the finger pointing and the allegations that we're changing the face of the town and taking away green space. That's certainly untrue.
Mr. Fernandez, the floor is yours.
Maybe I didn't express myself correctly when I said green space. I meant construction, development. In fact, I think it was a Township. They sent me an email today. It might have been for the planning board meeting next Thursday, when they're asking for permission for 81 more townhomes or apartments, something like that. I can see the point as well. 81 apartments is not a single family home. So, I just figured out.
Well, thank you for bringing that to our attention. We appreciate it. Just for the record, it's not 81 apartments. It is a large development, but it's not 81 apartments on the one structure. It's more like 64, but okay. So seeing no one else come forward, it's no one else, Mr. Kusia. Can I have a motion to close the public comment? Moved by Councilmember Quadri, second by Councilmember Vanchery. All those in favor of closing the public signify by saying aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. The motion carries. At this time, can I have a motion to adjourn this meeting? Moved by Councilmember Vanchery, second by Councilmember Seaver. All those in favor of adjourning this meeting signify by saying aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. This meeting is now closed.